Photo by Jesse D. Garrabrant, NBAE via Getty Images. After a solid first half to the season, Elton Brand facilitated yet another leap for the Philadelphia 76ers. He traded for Tobias Harris, adding a fourth star to the Sixers' talented starting five. Brown's squad now has a legitimate path to the NBA Finals. While it hasn't all been positive, the Sixers are a convincing 3-2-1 in 4 games with Harris. He's improving the offense and not harming the defense, providing more spacing at the 4 spot and another go-to option late in games. Here's where they stand among all 30 NBA teams after the All-Star break. The Knicks trying for Zion. DeAndre Jordan gives a slight boost at center, but even his arrival and promising signs from Dennis Smith Jr. aren't enough to propel New York to success. The Cavs are also trying for Zion. Kevin Love's return will add some firepower to an offensively challenged rotation, but defensive woes alone will keep Cleveland at the bottom. The Suns have lost 8 straight, struggling to establish an identity despite star power in Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Phoenix will need to start showing tangible signs of growth soon, or the rebuild enters a serious danger zone. The Bulls improved with the addition of Otto Porter Jr., whose output will improve in a bigger role. He's a long, versatile two-way forward who scores efficiently at all 3 levels, complementing Chicago's young core quite nicely. They're still really bad, though. The Grizzlies officially ended the grit and grind era at the trade deadline, shipping Marc Gasol to Toronto. Mike Conley is still on the roster, but the Grizzlies are clearly transitioning into a rebuild, with Jaren Jackson Jr. as the focal point. Page 2, photo by Stacey Revere, Getty Images. The Hawks are finding ways to compete. Trae Young is rounding into form, both as a shooter and as a playmaker. John Collins got fringe all-star consideration, although his odds were never high. Few teams have a more promising young core and culture than Atlanta. The Wizards are still trudging along the Eastern Conference basement, struggling to make the improvements necessary to grab a playoff spot. They're still in the race and Bradley Beal is having a career season, but things are looking bleak in DC. The Hornets are currently 7th in the East, which speaks to how poor the conference is outside the top 5. Kemba Walker made his first All-Star start on Sunday, but the Hornets don't have the depth or talent around him to legitimately compete. The Heat are once again average, struggling to stay afloat without elite talent on the roster. Josh Richardson looks the part of a legitimate building block, but the roster as a whole underwhelms quite a bit. The Mavericks traded 4 of 5 starters at the deadline, with several assets going toward Kristaps Porzingis, who can't play yet. That leaves Luka Doncic with very little firepower to work with, perhaps a strategic last-second tank before making a playoff push next season. Page 3, photo by Brian Babino, NBAE via Getty Images. The Pelicans are struggling to cope with the Anthony Davis situation, leading to several odd and concerning storylines. Davis left mid-game the other week after injuring his shoulder, which in part led to GM Dell Demps getting the boot. Drew Holiday has been a bright spot, though. The Pistons are turning the corner to some degree, though it isn't the most notable development. Blake Griffin's All-NBA caliber season has Detroit in a position to make the playoffs, currently 8th in the East. He needs a better roster ASAP. The Wolves have seen minor improvements under Ryan Saunders, namely on the offensive end. Karl Anthony Towns continues to flash historic upside on that end, spacing the floor and scoring proficiently at the rim. Robert Covington's eventual return will help the defense return to form. The Magic are on a 5-game winning streak, making the decision to compete for a playoff position instead of tanking. Nikola Vucevic earned his All-Star selection, putting together a career season and emerging as one of the conference's most dynamic offensive centers. The Lakers are below .500 in 3 games behind the Clippers for 8th in the West. It doesn't look great for LeBron James and co., even though the chances of LeBron missing the postseason feel slim. LA needs a big offseason. Page 4, photo by Joe Robbins, Getty Images. The Clippers, powered by a deep backcourt and a sneaky talented frontcourt, continue to look the part of a potential playoff team despite trading Tobias Harris. Things will likely go south at some point, but Landry Shamet adds to a nice combination of youth and experience. The Nets are trending toward the 6th seed in the East, an impressive development for a team coming out of a long, complicated rebuild. D'Angelo Russell deservedly made his first All-Star appearance on Sunday, while Caris LeVert's return adds another dynamic to the offense. The Kings made a win-now move at the deadline, adding Harrison Barnes to one of the league's most exciting young cores. De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield have been one of the best backcourt combinations in the talent-laden West this season. Barnes is an upgrade, especially when used correctly. The Spurs, at times, are boring. But it's an effective boring, complete with gorgeous ball movement, 2 mid-range stars and some underrated complementary shooters. Greg Popovich continues to make the most out of a limited arsenal. The Pacers aren't tanking in Victor Oladipo's absence. Miles Turner has a real shot at Defensive Player of the Year, while Thaddeus Young and Bojan Bogdanovic continue to put together productive minutes. The Wes Matthews addition helps. Indiana has a 1-game hold on the 3rd seed. Page 5, photo by Zach Beeker, NBAE via Getty Images. James Harden is averaging 36.6 points, 6.7 rebounds and 7.7 assists per game. That's insane. The remainder of Houston's roster, however, continues to underperform relative to expectations. A lack of depth and Harden's potential exhaustion could catch up to them. The Jazz are once again relevant behind a stellar defense. Rudy Gobert might win back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, and Donovan Mitchell, after a slow start to the season, is finally rounding into form. The Blazers are perpetually competitive, adding pieces around the margins and riding Damian Lillard's productivity to a top 4 spot in the loaded Western Conference. Even if you have questions about the core's long-term future, it's easy to appreciate the chemistry right now. The Nuggets took some lumps before the All-Star break, but they're still moderate contenders in the West. Golden State will inevitably take the crown, but Nikola Jokic is the league's most unique MVP candidate. As the roster gets healthier, stability will come again. Paul George has a legitimate MVP argument, rivaling Harden and Giannis Antetokounmpo for the top spot. He's also in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, locked in a heated battle with Gobert. OKC, sparked by an elite defensive unit, might be the Warriors' most imposing threat in the West. Page 6, photo by Abby Parr, Getty Images. The Sixers now have the best starting 5 outside Golden State, featuring 2 All-Stars and 3 players who deserved more consideration. Tobias Harris adds another dynamic at the 4 spot, spacing the floor and providing a more expansive skill set than his predecessor. The Celtics continue to play the role of Sixers vice, pulling out another close victory prior to the All-Star break. Al Horford, even in a down year, remains one of the most versatile defensive bigs in the NBA. Kyrie Irving, when healthy, is the East's best lead guard. The Raptors added Marc Gasol to an already talented roster, improving the ball movement and adding another floor spacer to the front court. He's also a savvy defender who, in a potential playoff series, can aptly defend Joel Embiid on the block. There's an argument to slot Milwaukee first. Giannis Antetokounmpo, despite Harden's historic point total, feels like the MVP frontrunner to date. Team success dictates it. The Bucks even added to their depth with Nikola Mirotic, another floor-spacing big who can play valuable minutes in the postseason. The Warriors are the Warriors. As long as Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant are healthy, it's difficult to peg Golden State as anything short of championship favorites, again. Marcus Cousins is just the cherry on top, all upside, little risk. Next, 4 things we learned during 12-game gauntlet. You can read our previous power rankings here.